Sara Civian covers the National Hockey League for Bleacher Report Elite Prospects, and as part of the Too Many Men podcast, she has written on the Vancouver Canucks headline, "It's Going the Other Way," an ode to the Canucks and a tribute to a mentor. And of course, that mentor is Jason Botchford. She joins us now from her home in Boston. Hi, Sarah. Thanks for the time.
Hi, guys. Of course. Thanks for having me.
What inspired you to write this?
Just the nature of how the Canucks were winning games all season and how they stayed in the fight despite, you lose your number one goalie, you lose your number one goal scorer in such a awful way. It's just the way they kept fighting till the end. And it hasn't gone the other way yet, but you're seeing glimpses of a bright future. And there's nothing to be ashamed about this playoff run, if you ask me. And it all reminded me of the way Botchford would talk about this team.
Yeah, it's going the other way. Explain that for those who missed the piece.
Yeah, one of his last botchies ever, he had the ending that said there's a certain way Vancouver Canucks hockey always goes, but he can't wait for it to go the other way. And I think that is such a good representation of just the Canucks fan base, right? And the Canucks experience. It's like you expect them to disappoint you, and they do. But going the other way to me would mean you kind of have expectations and you start to believe.
The Canuck Twitter reputation is...
we should also explain. Botchford wrote that at the end of Elias Pettersson's rookie season.
Yes.
And of course, Elias shouted him out from the Calder Trophy.
And there was promise and all that sort of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Canucks Twitter has a reputation. Canuck fans have a reputation based on, some well-earned milestones, if you will, or incidents throughout the course of history. Yet, I as I follow you on Twitter, you and some others, it's a smaller group, do think there's something adorable about the fan base to some degree. Explain what your overriding sentiment about the love of this team.
Well, I think how they act sometimes is valid. I think the team gives them a reason to do that, as opposed to Canadiens fans. I don't know. They're just so serious and mad about everything. I think Canucks fans are funny and mad. And sometimes they will take it out on a punching bag, but to me, it's punching bag of the day. I think they have not a short memory, but there's always something to be enthusiastic about. The memes are A1. They don't take themselves too seriously, but they take the team extremely seriously. And I think they just want the media to do so as well. And it's the dynamics with hockey in Canada are, you got Toronto, you got Montreal, and then I think Canucks fans just want to be respected and they want their passion to be recognized. And I like the brand of passion they have. It's more like NBA Twitter to me, where you have to be witty to survive.
Lead the league in memes here.
Yeah. The memes for 60.
Yeah, right.
Clint Eastwood in Unforgiven said, deserves got nothing to do with it. But do the Canucks deserve a Stanley Cup? Do they deserve, after everything that they've been through in all of their history, do they deserve something better than what they've had?
Yeah, absolutely. I think this season really showed that with the players. We all wondered if they're going to reach their ceilings, what their ceilings even are, and if they were going to underperform for their whole careers, right? You look at Besser, everybody around the league. Minnesota boy, the Minnesota fans want him to succeed too. Everybody wants to, and then he does. He has this season. Hopefully everything's good for him and he returns perfectly. But you saw some career years and some elevation out of these players that were always supposed to be this core. And I think you start talking about deserving a cup, and especially if Demko comes back healthy, it's this team from top to bottom is really good. There's a few tweaks you got to make with the lines. There's a few upgrades to be had, but they have the vibes with Zadorov now. They have elite players playing elitely for the most part. And when it's all coming together, it does look like a team and a fan base that deserves this.
Well, let's ask you our poll question. Do you expect improvement next year, Sarah?
I do. I think there was a certain belief. I think you got Jack Adams winner coach for a reason, right? I think he really helped some of these players believe in them. That's lame, but it's kind of true. I think there's a level of that where they've played to a certain standard that hasn't been their ceiling in the past. And now that they've done it, you kind of feel like the training wheels are off.
We mentioned you're from Boston, And we
That's
joked
true.
off air. We joked off air here. You might be the one Boston writer or person who has this affection for our
Pathos,
team,
whatever
out
it
here.
is,
Yeah,
yes.
tell us, how did you develop this connection with the club and their fans?
I mean, it all starts with Jason Botchford. He took me and everybody else under his wing, right? Like that's what he did for younger reporters. And I worked at The Athletic at the time, covering the Carolina Hurricanes. I think he saw what other mentors might call flaws as strengths in me. And the way he wrote was something I mean, anybody would aspire to, right? It's like, how did he do that every single day? But it comes down to a passion and an understanding of a fan base. And you realize like he was the pulse of that team and he cared about the fans. I think that's something I started caring about the fans too, because you just see it through his writing. And then for whatever reason, I've always gotten along with people from around Vancouver. Like when I was in Carolina, I have a really great relationship with Rod Brindamore still. I think his lifestyle and things he's taught me they kind of remind me of the mentorship with Botchford too, like just a caring about a fan base that's maybe misunderstood. And then my best friend here is from Vancouver. Like, I don't know how this keeps happening, but some of the Bruins stuff is just no fun. Like everyone's always complaining no matter what's going on. I appreciate a little more of a tortured yearning.
Yeah.
Well, you got a little bit of that, like a mini tortured yearning in Carolina. Not in, you know, they've been good, but they haven't been great yet, or at least in the playoffs. This is only 1 year to the second round and out for the Vancouver Canucks. But, you know, as you learned in Carolina, following that team, covering that team, you know, like it's not linear. Like you just because you went to the second round 1 year, you don't get to the third round the next. That's not the way it works, right?
It's not linear. A lot of it is based on matchups. And there's just the fact that there's so many elite teams in the playoffs. Like that's Captain Obvious, but the parity in this league is pretty insane lately. You just look at even the Rangers Carolina series. It was decided by power play goals. Like you need elite players executing or you're just not going to move on.
You tell a story in the piece about when you were in Vancouver and you visited Botchford's bench, and then you had a decision to make about, you know, how much you were going to put that forward publicly, and decided to walk into the rink and had an experience there at Rogers Arena. Tell us about that.
Yeah. Just the way the Canucks fan base will eat you alive. They will also embrace you if like they think you're not a fraud, I think. And I just decided, okay, Botchford, he hated any level of self-importance, right? Even though at times he was criticized for maybe becoming part of the story because he was just so immersed in the entire vibe. But I decided ultimately, like I'd seen some of the tributes. I am friends with Wyatt and I wanted to kind of thank him for it anyway. So why not just put it out there and be like, I know you guys might not know some random girl from Carolina, and from Boston, like random, but I am here and this guy meant a lot to me. And the reception of that was just, it made me realize that the extent to which Botchford really was an extension of the team and the vibes going on, because they just came with a quickness and a passion and an understanding and some open arms that really helped like the community aspect of a grieving process like that.
You mentioned Wyatt. Are you talking about wrestling promoter?
Yeah.
Wyatt Arndt? Is it
The one and only.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Uh-oh. Is his music starting crazy? Is he
Exactly.
under the
My
ring
God.
with a chair again? Sarah, I love this line. I'm not going to read it in full, but I'm going to pick from a few paragraphs here. The 2023-24 Canucks were chaotic, dramatic, and fun. They were Botchfords. They gave us something interesting, something real, something that reminds us of our old friend Botchford. And then you went on to say there was just a genuine belief that it might be going the other way. And this was picking up from Jason's last Botchies, as you mentioned, where best ending was the subhead. And that last line is drawn from his pen and what he wrote the last time around. So a terrific link there between the two. What made you think of that?
Just the way I still think about all of his writing and the way it was so unique and so spot on. Like he called that this is how it would happen. And now it's happening. You don't want to be too dramatic because no, they like only got to the second round. There are real valid questions that he would have drilled into them. You know what I mean? But there was also just this sense that what he was talking about is coming true, that it was less anger and more hope. And sometimes hope brings a little more sadness or disappointment, and more questions, as it should. But you're starting to actually ask these questions with a purpose.
He loved the chaos, though. The word
He
chaos is
embraced
key
it.
to that. Yes. And like on the ice, off the ice, chaos is part of being a sports fan and ultimately a media member as well. But covering chaos is fun, isn't it?
Yeah. And the way he would embrace it and not get overwhelmed, but like lean into everything.
Yes.
It's just so you're never going to see that again.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. No, I've never seen anyone more comfortable in chaos than Jason.
Oh, totally. Yeah.
What did you make of the Oilers series?
Oh, just they're all leading the league in points in the playoffs. Like, it just is extremely Oilers. And when the Besser news hit, it's like, yeah, of course you want to win it for Besser and Demko, but it's just impossible. You have your leading goal scorer who was the entire, like, emblematic of the entire vibe of the team. You have, it wasn't any goaltending issue that did them in, but it was just the elite firepower from the Oilers and the just running out of, you can't win a game in a third period without your top goal scorer and without firing on every cylinder. Like, you're bound to not have that work one time.
Did they win with Thatcher Demko in the playoffs in that series?
I want to say yes, just because Demko is so good, but at the same time, like, the goaltending situation should be proud of how it held its own without him. Like, I think Silvos had 2 of the top expected goal starts of the entire playoffs. Like, who would have saw that coming? And then this is what you talk about when you tweak and you build into the next season, right? Like, he's probably going to be the backup now, and that gives you even more stability in net. And you can't figure out these things without going through some of the disappointment of returning to the playoffs. So that's a plus, but I don't think you get past them with Demko too, just because of the nature of, you need to score more goals.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, we've kicked that around over the last couple of days. Do the goals from distance go in on Demko? Probably not, but does he make all the saves that Shilovs does wind up making? And as you mentioned, a couple of the outstanding goaltending performances of the postseason. Dallas, Edmonton, who do you like?
Dallas. I had them winning the cup from day one, but I keep betting against the Oilers and being wrong. So it's like, if they actually surpass, then I have a lot of explaining to do. But right. I think that Dallas is too systematic with the Oilers goaltending situation. Like, they can grind them down. They can Ottinger has been really good. If he rises to the occasion against the Oilers, that might be a signature series for him.
Yeah, well, Edmonton, better team than Vancouver, but they don't have better fans and they don't have better Twitter. That much is
they're
clear.
Miserable in a bad way.
Sarah, it was a beautiful piece. Very well done. Thank you for that. And thank you for your time here today. Terrific conversation.
Thanks, Sarah.
Anytime. Thanks so much, guys.
Hey, everybody. If you're enjoying what you're seeing here, then follow along with Sekeres and Price on YouTube. I promise more content coming.
The kids call it subscribe on YouTube.
Well, how about liking it?
Do that as well. Smash it right now.